complete. So we have some topics are left, like what is an Active Directory, what is DHCP, what is DNS, what is an Outlook, what is VPN, Office 365, and cloud. These topics are left over. So all the other topics are completed. Okay. Anyway, we are going to start what is an Active Directory. Okay. So last class, we discussed about servers and services. In that one, again, we discussed about what is workgroup and domain. And the domain environment, so I said there is a domain controller. I said there is a domain controller. The PCs are in the network. Those devices, it can be a laptop or a desktop, or it can be a printer. Okay. The devices, those who join into the domain, so there are domain computers. To join, to create a domain, so we need to install a domain controller kind of stuff. Okay. So Windows servers are actually the server operating system, as I know, that is from Windows NT. Okay, Windows NT server. So that time from that time onwards, we have a domain controller concept. Domain controllers are two things. One is primary domain controller, backup domain controller. Primary domain controller, backup domain controller. Okay, you have this is a representation of domain, the triangle symbol, representation of domain. Okay, and to create a domain, okay, an environment, a domain environment, to create a domain, we need a domain controller. Domain controller is a server. And if in case, if this domain controller become very busy because I have thousands of users are there, they try to log into the domain. Think like this, I have an organization, I have 100, 200 users are there. All user information in the domain controller only. So when user is logged into domain computer, the information go to domain controller. So domain controller authenticates user identity, right? So once it is authenticate and it gives authorization to the user to access his computer, to access any services or resources in the domain controller give authorization. So what happens sometimes, domain controller is become busy, means lot of requests go to the server, so then it cannot able to perform as normal one. Okay, because it has its own capacity, right? The capacity is not enough to authenticate all the users. Like 9:30, almost like 9:25 to 9:30, everybody came and started giving authentication request. So what happened? Lot of requests at a time, so it cannot be processed. Lot of load on a single domain controller. So what we do it for load balancing, we use backup domain controller. There is a two purposes. One is for load balancing. Okay, load balance. Another one is failover. What is a failover? If in case, if our main domain controller is down, so user cannot authenticate because user information in domain controller, and if domain controller is down, user cannot be authenticated. So user cannot able to log into their domain computers, and as well as they can't access any domain resources or services. So what happened? So work will be stopped, right? We cannot able to log in. You need authentication part. So what happened? This backup domain controller will authenticate users and authorize the users instead of your main primary domain controller. So the backup domain controller, primary domain controllers are at least two domain controllers is required in the one single domain for load balancing and failover. Guys, understand the part? PDC, BDC, why we require two?
Sir, can you explain again?
I have a domain. I have a domain. In the domain, I have a domain controller, right? I have a domain controller. Domain controller is nothing but a server which contains a database of users, computers, group, services, resources, like a printer kind of stuff. Database is there. Okay. So whenever the domain user, for example, my domain name is domain 1. I have a user, his name is user 1, and I have a computer name is C1. Okay. In the C1, I'm going to log in with a domain user like this. So what will happen? The request go to the domain controller for authentication. What is this domain controller will do? It verifies username and the password, and yes, it is authenticated. Verify the username and password is have check the credentials of user is authenticated. Next one is authorization. Once user is authenticated and user can able to access C1 or not, so it will give authorization. Yes, you can able to log into the C1. Okay. So for example, I have a printer, and a printer is a resource which is part of our domain. Okay. Part of our domain. So when user 1 want to access the printer 1, it asks domain controller, can I access the printer 1? So it will give authorized to access the printer 1. Okay. Like this, if any user want to access, like I have in my organization, I have 200 computers, and there is a 200 users are trying to log in at a time to the domain controller. Okay. So what happened? Lot of requests will send to the domain controller, right? Lot of requests will go to the domain controller. So domain controller has to authenticate each and every user and authorize the user to access the computer and resources, services kind of stuff. Think like this. Depends upon, it is a server, it has its own capacity, RAM, processor, and service capacity is there, right? You have a 200 users at a time try to log in. So there is a load on the server. There is a load on a single server, right? Lot of load will be increases. Take 300 computers, 400 computers, 500 computers, 1000 computers, 1000 users at a time they log in. On single domain controller, what happened? Load increases. Load increases means, you know, some people are able to successfully log in, some people cannot able to log in because in that load, some people may miss it. Server is become full busy, cannot authenticate the remaining users. First 200, 300 users are authenticated, but remaining users may not be getting authenticated. It will take more time to get authenticated because of server become busy. Okay, understand that point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we are using is, we are using another server called a same, that is also domain controller, but we are calling that one as a backup domain controller. This is the primary domain controller and this is the backup domain controller. So what is the purpose of using the additional domain controllers to the main domain controller? All are same only, all are having same database. So when more number of users required authentication and authorization, okay, so it will balance the load. We balance the load between the domain controllers. So we, instead of one server, I put a 5 servers. Now the load on the server, each individual server will be reduces. So that is what we call it as load balancing. Okay. Understand load balancing? Okay. So it will share the load. It will share the load if you have more servers. Second concept, because these 2 points are very important, whether whatever the, if you are going for any infrastructure related, it can be this domain controller, Active Directory environment, or maybe it is a web servers or database servers. Okay. So infrastructure related means 2 things are important. One is load balancing and failover. Okay. So what is the failover? Server is a server, guys. It is also a computer equipment, right? It is an electronic device itself, right? If in case you have a more number of users are there, like you have a 300 users are there and only one single server. So only one single server you have it. So this server is down. If this server is down, what happened? Morning 9:25, 9:30, people are starting login. Request go to the domain controller and domain controller is down. So domain controller has to authenticate you, but domain controller is down. She cannot get authenticated. All the users are waiting for authentication. They can't log into their system, right? So what we have done, we put another additional servers. So if in case your primary domain controller is down, other domain controller going to be authenticate users. Okay. This is called a failover. Simple terminology, guys. It is always helps to understand. This is a server giving a service. It can be authentication service or web service or maybe some database service, whatever it is. Server is providing a service. Okay. Server is down, service will be down. Server down, service is down. In a earlier days, you go to the bank or ATM, they will say server is down. You cannot able to get do the work now. Wait for some time. Okay, server down, service will be down. But that is not good thing at a customer end. Customer is always should get a service. Customer should get always a service. So what service provider will do it? Will keep more servers. Okay. Even a server is down, no problem. Other server will give you service. Other servers will give you a service. Even here in this model, even the server is down, you have another server to provide a service. This concept called a failover. Okay. So make sure the client always get a service. So how it is? Even one server is down, other servers are able to give a service. We'll come back to our domain controller. So you have a multiple users. There is 1,000 users are try to log in, but your domain controller is down. So what happened? Users cannot able to log in. So we go back to the so what we have a some backup domain controllers. what this backup domain controller will do, it authenticate users and authorize the users. So when they log into the network. So work is not stopped. So that is called a concept of failure. Understand, guys? PDC, BDC.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So here it is. The next point is organization. So why we are required this domain environment? Represents, okay, an organization. For example, I have a 70s, Hyderabad 70s is there. In New York 70s is there. Okay, different places we have a company, but different purposes. We are combine all these things as a single organization. 70s is a single organization. But if you take Tata, if you take Tata, Tata is the best example because multiple organization under single enterprise. I'll give one example here. It is, so there is a Tata organization, for example, in their organization, say they would create a domain, the domain name is tata.com. And Tata increases their organizations, different organizations came up. And each organization has their own domain. Okay. And organization has a domain means they have a domain controllers. Okay. PDC, BDC kind of stuff is there. Okay. So this is another organization. For example, it is a Tata Steel. Similarly, we have a thing like this. In a Tata, so they have a TCS, Tata Communication Service. Tata Telecommunication Service is also there. Tata Telecommunication Service. Okay. Tata Vistara services also there, right? So Tata has so many services. So Tata Vistara, what is Vistara? So all are belongs to the Tata, but individual organization. These are all individual organizations, but are all belongs to the Tata. So these organizations want to communicate each other. It means there is a Vistara person required some help from the TCS, or they required some telecom business with the telecom organization, or maybe Tata Steel required some software from TCS, and they need a TCS guy has to come and work in their environment to understand there is some ERP tool. Okay, so different users from different organization, when they want to work, when they're required to work in a okay, in different organizations. So what happened? They cannot do it because these are all individual domains. Individual domains. They cannot work. So to do it, they need a trust relationship between. There is a trust relationship between these domains. So each domain required to trust other domains. So it means one organization required to trust other organization, like that. We have a domain in one organization required to trust other domains. So then, so their users, computers, resources can be utilized by different organizations. Okay. So like that, we have to create a trust relationship. And these trust relationships, you have to create in a manner, it is like a mesh type, means one organization to other organizations as per the requirement. Like that, they have to create multiple trust relationships. Every time we have to create a trust relationship with a other organization. but all organizations comes under one single person only. But there are different organizations in the same enterprise, and they have different domains, and these domains cannot be communicated. That the domain users, computers, resources cannot be accessed or used by other domain users, computers, resources. So what they have to do it? They have to create a trust relationship between them. They have to create trust relationship between them. Okay, that is in the olden days. Okay, at the time of Windows NT time. So they use this database, domain database name is SAM database. They use SAM database. And authentication is NTLM authentication. Okay, new technology, LAN manager authentication protocol they use to authenticate users. Okay, and they use domain NetBIOS login. Okay, so this kind of stuff there at that time. But from Windows 2000, in Windows 2000, they introduce Active Directory concept. Active Directory concept. What is this Active Directory? So it's look like Active Directory. What is this Active Directory? Active Directory is architecture is like a forest architecture. This is a forest. Forest means it's nothing but an enterprise. In this one, they'll create first a root domain. Okay, the very first domain, the root domain in the forest we create is a root domain. This is defines what enterprise it is. For example, I created my root domain name is tata.com. It creates a forest. Okay. In this forest, we have a different organizations, right? Within the forest only, we create these domains inside, like a Tata Steel, TCS. Okay, maybe a Vistara. So many are there. Just some what are the spelling it is. So these are the different domains in different organizations in the same enterprise. Okay, so it is same forest it is now. Because of this AD architecture work like this, it is forest tree architecture it is. These are the tree domains. These are the tree domains. Under a forest, we have a tree. Okay, all these tree domains in the same forest. Of course, there is one more point is also there. For example, I have another domain name is hyd.tcs.com, for example. Okay, so it is a child. It's a child domain, which is under this specific tree domain. Like any under any domain, there is a child domain. Is there? You tell me. Okay. So there is a Active Directory concept is introduced in Windows 2000 server. Okay. So
Sir,
it
can
is.
you explain it again?
Yeah, I'm explaining. Okay. So in 2000 server, so instead of that PDC, BDC kind of concepts like a authentication, like a SAM database kind of stuff. So they introduced this active directory concept. This active directory architecture is with the forest, trees, and child domain concept it is. When you create a very first domain in the forest, so it is you're creating a first domain. It is called a root domain. This root domain actually creates your forest. Okay, this is the forest level domain it is. Under this one, we are going to create multiple domains inside. So these are all in the same enterprise. They're all in the same forest. They're all in the same forest. What is the advantage? Here you don't require to create any trust relationships. Don't require to create any trust relationships. Because of in the forest, all the domains are trust each other. All the domains are trust each other. If you want to access the other domain resources, or we can able to access directly without creating trusted relationship, because of within the forest, all the domains are trust each other. It is a logical kind of stuff only. Okay. So what is a forest? It is having domain and domain trees. Within the forest, we have a domains and domain trees. What is a trees? Nothing but another domains only. Different organizations in the same enterprise kind of stuff only it is. Okay. This is a complete enterprise, which is Tata Enterprise. Our forest is Tata.com. Why? Because of very first we created this Tata.com. Under Tata.com, we are creating different domains. Okay, all are in the same forest. So this is active directory architecture. Here we have each domain having a domain controller, and other domain controller if you want to add. So instead of PDC, BDC, so we have DC, ADC. So earlier we have PDC, BDC. Now in 2000 they introduced instead of PDC it is a DC, and this is ADC, additional domain controller. Same purpose only, load balancing and failure. Each domain has their own domain controller. Each domain having their own domain controller. Okay. So this is Active Directory architecture. It is forest architecture. In the forest, so that domains you created in the forest, they will trust each other automatically within the forest. If you have another forest, means maybe there is a Reliance organization is there. Okay. So that is another forest. They have their own domains, domain controllers, and they will trust each other. They will communicate or share resources each other. Okay. And still you want a communication between this forest to that forest, then only you have to create a trust relationship. Otherwise, not. So we don't go to that point, we'll go to this point. Okay. So as again, I'm going back once again, the domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. In domain, we have a domain controller. In the domain controller, we have a database. Domain controller contains a database which is having information of users, groups, computers, resources, and services. Okay. And through the domain controller, we can able to create a group policy to enforce various type of settings to users and computers. From 2000 onwards, we are using an active directory structure. Okay, what is this active directory? It is a directory service contains database and authentication and authorization. Guys, when there is a question about Active Directory, 2 points are important. 2 points are very important. First one is database. Second one is authentication. Okay, authentication. So what is Active Directory will do? Active Directory maintain a database. What is a directory service means? Active Directory database. In the server, if you install how to make this one possible, take one server, install Windows Server OS. Okay. So either it can be 2000, 2003, 2008 or 12 or 16 or 19 or 22, depends. Okay. Then you have to install Active Directory. So in a recent version, I'm talking in 2008 onwards. So yeah, don't worry about it. I'm using 2019. So what I've done, I installed ADDS role in the server. First, I've taken a server. In the server, I install OS first. Then I install ADDS role, which is inside a server only. And I configure this server as a domain controller. Then it is a domain controller. So what happens if you configure as a domain controller? There is a Active Directory database. What is this database contains? About your user. What are the users you have created? You'll create in the database only. Okay. Next one is whenever the client computer joined to the domain, that client information is also available in the database. So like that, what is an Active Directory? It is a directory service. Active Directory database stores identity of users, groups, computers, services, and resource information. Active Directory database stores identity of users, groups, computers, and resources. Okay. And I said 2 points, right? Authentication point. What is authentication? When the user is logged into the domain computer, so Active Directory authenticate the user. What is Active Directory do? Authenticate users. Active Directory authenticate users when they log into the domain computer. Okay. When user is logged into the domain computer, so Active Directory authenticate users and authorize the user. Okay. So that's the 2 points about a Active Directory. And other 2 points are like this. I said first point is Active Directory database. What is Active Directory directory services? Active Directory database contains users, groups, computers, services, and resource information, right? So it is a database. Database means it's nothing but a kind of file only, right? It inside the database file, this information is there. What is the file name of file name is NTDS.DIT. What is the file name? NTDS.DIT. New Technology Directory Service Directory Information Tree. New Technology Directory Service Directory Information Tree. The Contoso is my domain name and I'm logged in as a domain administrator account. Okay. Next. First one is database. What is the next one? Authentication. Active Directory, Authenticate, users, computers, and resources, whatever it is. It's like when they're trying to log into the domain, when there are interacting, so it will do authentication and authorization. Active Directory, authenticate and authorize users when they log into domain computers or when they are trying to access any domain resources. What it will use? It use a protocol called Kerberos and LDAP protocol. Kerberos port number is 88, LDAP port number is 389. Okay. So if you see guys, here it is. This is my domain controller. This is my domain controller. Can you see ADDS? Okay. So this is Active Directory users and computers. Only I'm showing. Okay. And just for our understanding only, I'm like trying to show. Okay, this is my server and this is my client. I started my client. Okay. And I created some user here. Can you see? Harshita user I created. In the IT support OU, I created Dheeraj, Kiran, Priya, Shiva. Okay. Trainers I created in the soft skills, Revant, and technical I created Latif, Madhu. Okay. And there is some OU it is created. Okay. So you don't require to know understand all these things because you are not there. Okay. If you want to learn, I have last class videos also there clearly how to install and all. Depends upon you, depends upon your system and your time. You can do all the practicals. All are available in my channel. Okay, so you can try. Guys, this is my domain. So here Priya is login. Can you see Priya? Actually, I created Priya here. Okay. So here I didn't create Priya, but I can able to log into Priya here. Just for you, I'm going to show you. I want some name, easy name. Neeraj came. So there is no Neeraj, only Dheeraj is there, not Neeraj. Okay. I'm going to create new user. What happened? Why it is blinking? Neeraj. Okay. I put a capital N. Neeraj. So any initials for Neeraj? Neeraj, AB, what is your last name? First name, last name kind of stuff, anything? If not there, no problem. I'll put a last name is 70s. And Neeraj is a username. Remember guys, what I'm doing is I create a Neeraj user in the server, okay, not in the client PC. And I'm giving the password, always same. And if you see this option, user must change password at next login. If I click it, what happens whenever the user is logged into the client, immediately it will ask for first time. User login with this username and password. Immediately it will ask change your password. Maybe you have seen some dummy password like username password is there. First time you log in, it will immediately ask change your password. Next time it won't ask. Okay, so like that. So when a employee is joined into the organization, so administrator will create a user like this. Administrator create a user and give some dummy password and select this option. Okay, once it is okay, and that user information password share to the new employee. And what he will do when he is trying to log in with his username and password, it asks change your password. change our password. We will also going to see that one. So I select this one, user must change password, next login, finish. So user is created in the server. Look at, I created a user in the server. Name is, the login name is Neeraj. Full name is different. The Neeraj is different. Okay. So here it is. This is the client. Go to other user and see that my domain name is contoso.com. My domain name is here. You can see domain name is contoso.com. Dashboard, local server. See, mine is contoso.com. I'm logging to the contoso.com. Neeraj. I think I done some spelling mistake here. Take it once. Where is Neeraj?
Yes, sir.
Neeraj. So that's a done mistake. I will delete and create it better. A given build. Neeraj. Remaining is not required. Register. Neeraj. Okay. Password must change. Next login. And I give a normal password like a admin@123 only. So I got a request from my HR to create an account. So I'm a system administrator. I create an account for a Neeraj. Now I create an account and I given this account information means username password to the Neeraj email ID. I shared that info. Now Neeraj knows he assigned with a new laptop or a desktop. He tried to log in. Check it. Same domain name, contoso.com. You can directly type Neeraj and the password directly. Or you can put it like this at the rate because domain.com, right? So like a UPN name, user principal name like that, you can say Neeraj at the rate contoso.com and the password. So what it is showing, user must be changed before signing. Password is correct, but what it is asking, user must change password next login. I given dummy password, right? So user will change his own password. He'll going to create his own password. So I can give same password, but I'm giving capital A instead of small a. That's it. Okay. So I change the password and that's it. Login. Password is changed. Now see this. I didn't create Neeraj account in the client PC where I have created in the domain controller. Okay. Yeah, it will take some time to log in. So relax and see. Only 9 members, still 9 members. Okay, Neeraj came, Nidhi Sharma came. Anybody I missed? Himanshu came. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I need to see the 11 numbers here. One number is down. Okay. First time you log in, what happened? The system set a profile data for you, like a under C users folder. Under user folder, it will create a new folder with a username. Under that folder, you have your documents, desktop, downloads, pictures, videos are there. So that is your users profile data. See what I'm logging, I log in with the account Neeraj. Okay. So when I log in for a first time in the system, it creates, here is users, under users. See all users, these are all users I log in. Neeraj, and all these are Neeraj profile data. If I create a data on the desktop, that will be created under this desktop only. So here I'm creating, look at here, I created some text files. See, it is showing on the desktop. It is Neeraj profile data. One user profile data cannot be accessed by another. The point is, I created a user in the server and log into the client. Guys, understand this concept?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So like that,
Yes.
you can create hundreds of users, thousands of users in the domain controller, and you can log into the different clients with that users. Okay. And this is a group policy management. I have created 3 group policies here. You can see this is desktop wallpaper policy. So if you see this in the background, this is a desktop wallpaper. If you see, this is the desktop wallpaper policy it is. So because of this policy, the client are getting the what is the wallpaper I said, that same wallpaper they are getting. Okay. This is IE restriction policy, and this is printer policy. So just for a fun, I will show you one more. That is my wallpaper. This is my wallpaper. Okay. And I'm going to create one more wallpaper for you. Okay. I put a wall 2. Wall 2 is your wallpaper. So I'm going to the paintbrush and then put it some color inside. Okay. Take this color, put it a blue color inside, and put this one 70s. Down. Okay, put it in some red color. Okay, so red color is not looking. Okay, somewhat I created. Close it, save it. This is the wallpaper, right? So what I'm going to do is I went to this wallpaper and go to edit group policy. To contractions. This is enabled. I put a wallpaper to apply. Okay, like that. This is to run date as well as refresh. PP update source. Have to sign out and sign in once. So if you see the old wallpaper, so after we sign in again, so you may password is changed now. So one is I showed, that is I created a user in the domain controller and log into domain client system, means domain computer, right? Second one is I change some group policy instead of creating. So I change some settings in the group policies. Okay, that policy is applied. See, I didn't change desktop wallpaper in my client computer. I have done in the server, the setting, desktop wallpaper setting I have done in the server, then it is applied on the client. Understand, guys? Purpose of domain controller. Users we created here. Group policies also we created here. We can do everything. Authentication will be done here. Policy settings will be applied from domain controller to domain computers users. Okay. Understand up to point this point.
Yes, sir.
Maybe. So the last one, for example, this user forget his password. He raised the ticket, but it is, I forget my password. And the who is going to reset the password? Yes, system engineer, right? System administrator can able to log into the server, right? So the ticket went to the system administrator automatically. I forget my login password. That is user request. System administrator see the ticket, check the user information, go to Active Directory users and computers. Which user it is? Maybe nearest forget his password. And what it will do? Right click on the user, reset the password. Can you able to see? Reset the password, reset password. Is it visible, guys? Nearest, right click, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, reset password. I click on reset password. I'm changing password, something like a ZAQ@1234. ZAQ@1234. And if I give like this, means I created some dummy password and I will give like this and click OK. So when user is login, so automatically he is asked for a change the password. He asked for the change the password. Otherwise, I said use this password only, don't change the password. Like that also we can do it. So I'm saying I change the new password and user must change the password next time. Click OK. Password has been changed. Click OK. Then user, of course, when user got a doubt, he forget his password or not. When he's trying to log in, so okay, I'm logging with my old password. First I'm trying with admin@123. Password is incorrect. Capital admin@123. It is login. Actually, it is the password went for authentication generally. Both are communicating now, so I will try to wait. It is login. And if you see the group policy kind of stuff is not came. So something got problem. It's the old password is stored. If I restart the PC, then you will get it newly. So Neeraj, I'm using admin, capital admin@123. See, password is incorrect. It is not working. So I have to use the new password. This is my new password. Password must be changed. Yes, okay. I will change the password. So I'm going back with my admin@123 password. Okay, unable to update the password. The value provided for new password does not mean length, complexity, history requirements of the domain because it's the last three password, right? So that's why it is not agreeing. I have to give completely new password. give the old password and give some new password. Admin #123. Admin #123. This password is changed. Yes, good. It is login. Okay. History of password. In a bank accounts, if you give password of last password, even a Facebook also, do not agree the last password kind of stuff. Okay. So where is the group policy kind of stuff? It has to give new policy. Policy successful. It's not pulling the pass. Okay. So whatsoever it is, guys, you understand the concept? So where we are changing the password, you can change the password from here also. We can log the user also. We can log the user. If user is no longer working in our organization, we can log the user. We can tell them this is the work hours. We can define login time to the users. We can define which system user can only log in. Okay, when the account will be expired. For example, he is a 6 months contact. I can define his work for 6 months only, not more than that one. So after 6 months, automatically password is wrong. I resign today, 2 months notice period. So what admin will do it? He will go to end of and calculate 2 months notice period and then apply OK. Automatically after 2 months, the user cannot able to log in. By see here it is 28 days, 28th June. After 28th June, he cannot log in. So like that, we can able to control users. Yeah, that is more than enough. Okay. So once again, small things. Okay. What is a domain? What is a domain? A logical administrative boundary of users and computers. In a domain, we have a domain controller, which is nothing but our server. In a domain, we have a Active Directory service. Okay. So what makes a server as a domain controller? What makes a server as a domain controller is Active Directory service. It is a directory service which provide two types of main services. One is Active Directory database, another one is authentication service. One is database service, another one is authentication service. It is. What is Active Directory database contains? Your information of user, group, computers, services, and resources. And when user is logged into the domain, computers are accessing domain resources. Active Directory authenticates users when they log into domain computers. Active Directory database name is NTDS.DIT, New Technology Directory Service Directory Information Tree. Authentication protocol to authenticate and authorize the users, we use a protocol called Kerberos and LDAP. This Active Directory Services is introduced in Windows 2000. Same Active Directory Services, name is little bit changed, that is Active Directory Domain Services. AD or ADDS. AD or ADDS, both are same. AD and ADDS, both are same. AD is introduced in 2000. In 2003 server and 2000 server, we have Active Directory. In 2008 server onwards, it is Active Directory Domain Services. In the Active Directory, we have an architecture like a forest tree child domain. And all domains in the forest is trust each other. In a older version of servers like a NT servers, so they have a domain controller, PDC, VDC concept. So Instead of Active Directory database, they use SAM database. In olden days, we use SAM database service for storing users, groups, computers, and service resources information. And authentication is NTLM. Here it is. Database is Active Directory database. Name is NTDS.DIT. And authentication is Kerberos and LDAP in Active Directory. In NT, that is a different point. We can add a client to domain. Okay, we can add a client PC to domain. Any Windows, of course, Linux-based OSs also we can add it. That is different point. But generally, Windows operating system we can add client to domain. But important is in a Windows home editions, Windows 10 home, Windows 11 home, Windows 7 home, Windows 8 home, we cannot join to the domain. Pro or enterprise editions of operating system can able to join to the domain. And before you join, you have to make sure both client and domain controls are able to communicate each other. Okay, they must be in the same, they must be able to communicate each other. If they can able to communicate each other, then only we can able to join. Otherwise, we can't join. Right? First of all, they must communicate each other. Okay. So guys, this is about a domain, Active Directory, and other things. Understand, guys, how you create a user group and this kind of stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Take a small break, guys, 10 minutes of break, and we will start other kind of stuff. Okay. Next one, I'm going to discuss about a DHCP. Then we'll take small break. Then we'll go to the DNS. Take your break.